Hey guys, I hope you're all having a really great day. Today I wanted to do a really quick joint book review of two books that I've read very recently that I have some thoughts on, and I wanted to share them with you. The first book that I want to talk about is I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. This book follows the story of a 19-year-old cab driver named Ed Kennedy. Basically, Ed is going nowhere in life. He has no plans for the future. He's actually working as a cab driver illegally because he's not actually of legal age to drive the cabs, and he doesn't have any goals or ambitions for the future. One day, Ed and his friends are at the bank and he inadvertently stops a bank robbery from happening. A couple days after the bank robbery takes place, Ed receives a playing card in the mail. It is the Ace of Diamonds, and on it there are 3 addresses that Ed must go to, and he starts realizing that everybody at these addresses needs something, they require some help, and his job is to help them, to save them. After he finishes the first one, inevitably another one will come. So this book follows the journey through these 4 playing cards and what Ed goes through, and all about him finding himself. And honestly, this book was really, really good. One of the things that I really love about this book is that the characters are so real, so believable, and relatable, and really interesting to read about. They're really fun characters to read about, and I really like that every character in the story, Ed and his 3 best friends, and all the people that Ed ends up helping, they all have their separate personalities. They're their own character, they're their own people. None of them are the same. So I really appreciate the diversity of characters in this book. Secondly, I loved the writing style. It was just really simple and wonderful, and it just drew me in, and there were some really great moments in this book where I would just read a line and I would be like, God, that is beautiful. And I loved it. It was just such a wonderful thing to get back into Marcus Zusak's writing style after not reading The Book Thief for several years, and I think that The Book Thief was the book that I needed to read when I read it when I was younger, and this is the perfect book to read now at my age, where I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to be doing with my life, and I can relate so much easier to Ed, and I loved this book so much. Of course, this book isn't perfect. I did have one small problem with it, and it had to do with the ending. I didn't feel like the ending was quite believable enough to accomplish the thing that the story was trying to tell. I felt like it was almost a cop-out to just kind of let it all go like that. That was my only problem, was that the ending just didn't feel real enough for me. I highly recommend checking this book out. It is just wonderful, and it's just really good, and I love it. I think everybody should read it. The second book I want to talk about is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. This book follows the story of a boy named Jacob who has grown up all of his life listening to his grandfather tell stories about peculiar children on this peculiar island who have this peculiar ability to do these really cool things. And for a while, Jacob believes him, and then he doesn't believe him anymore. Around the time that Jacob is 16, his grandfather passes away, and right before he dies, he tells Jacob to go to the island and to warn them. So Jacob decides that he needs to figure out what his grandfather is talking about and to fulfill his grandfather's last wish by going to the island that his grandfather grew up on. He and his father travel there, and then peculiar things start happening. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I really liked this book. I really liked the story. I liked the premise. I loved the writing style. And I liked that the book incorporated all of these old antique-ish photographs in it. The story is told in a really simple way, but it is done really well. Like I said, the writing style is just beautiful, and I think that the writing really makes this book. I think not so much the story or the characters even as much as the writing style. However, I did have one pretty large problem with this book. All the pictures in the book somehow are incorporated into the story. Some of the ways that the pictures are incorporated felt a little too convenient. It felt like that part of the story didn't really fit with the overall plot that was happening. For example, there is one particular picture in this book, this one right here, that the story behind the picture has absolutely nothing to do with the actual story that's happening. It just felt like that tidbit of information about that particular picture was just thrown in there so that that picture could be incorporated into the book. And that really bothered me, and that happened several times, not just with that picture, but several different pictures, where it just felt like the author wanted to include that picture in the story, so he found some way to write it in, and it didn't necessarily flow with the rest of the book. That's really the only thing I had to say about that. I really did enjoy it, and I would recommend this. So those are my thoughts on these two books right here, I Am the Messenger and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Let me know in the comments if you've read either of these books and what your thoughts on them are. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!